7 o'clock, I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Patty?
Mrs. Chamberlain,
Here.
Mrs. Saylor,
Here.
Mrs. Corey,
Here.
Mr. Dilks,
Here.
Colonel Hensky.
Is not here with us tonight.
Dr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Lepsis,
Here.
Dr. McCloy,
Here.
and Mrs. Shoemaker.
Here.
Thank you.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting was given in the following manner. On January 8th, 2020, notice of this meeting was transmitted to the Burlington County Times and the Central Record, filed with Township Clerk, and posted in the office of the Business Administrator Board Secretary. Additional notification was made on September 24th, 2020, in the Burlington County Times to inform the public that this meeting will be held remotely utilizing Zoom. Notification was also posted on both the district website and the district app. I direct the Business Administrator Board Secretary to enter this statement into the minutes. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting, September 21st. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Vicky.
Second, Gail.
Gail, any comments or questions? Roll call?
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes. The executive session from September 21st. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Kevin.
Second, Vicky.
Any comments or questions?
One for me, Jones, is that I had to leave when we were talking about the benefit issue, so I was not there for that part, and it was, I would assume, a vote to come back at 8:00 instead of 9:00.
Got that, Patty?
Yes.
Okay, great. Roll call.
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Abstain.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Thank you.
Committee of the Whole work session, October 5th. A motion?
So moved, Vicky.
Second, Judy.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Roll call?
Mrs. Corey, Mrs. Corey.
Gail, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
You can see my head. Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Thank you.
Executive session, October 5th. Motion?
So
moved.
moved, Gail.
Second, Kevin.
Comments or questions?
Jones again, rinse and repeat the same thing.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay.
Roll call?
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Abstain.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor, Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
thank you, and Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Thanks.
Liaison reports, NJSBA, Mrs. Corey?
Nothing at this time.
SBA, Ms. Shoemaker?
Yes. Dr. Feinsod, who was the executive director, spoke at the beginning of the meeting. He listed the things that are available for members during this time: training, such as webinars, podcasts, Facebook Live, and workshops; the research, which was searching for a new normal in New Jersey public schools; and advocacy for leadership for educational excellence. There was a lot of talk about the workshop 2020. It will be online. They're securing essential products and services. Sustainable New Jersey will be available, and there will be research on the impact of pandemic on education. Bruce Young, Vice President of County Activities, talked about school performance. New Jersey, for the second year in a row, was ranked as #1. Just a reminder to download the workshop app, and what was coming up were the negotiation webinars and the delegate assembly, which I think will be, the negotiation webinars I think have already come about. Delegate assembly, I believe, is in November. Ray Pinney, who was the director of member engagement, again talked about workshop. That's the big thing and going on for them now. And student speakers will be there to address how they were affected by the pandemic. Jesse Adams from Field Services gave us 2 dates for candidate briefing for new and continuing board members who were on the ballot this year that were being held virtually, and 3 R's, the roles, responsibility, and resources workshop will be held again after the election. And to make sure, and we've done this part, to have our ethics training done by the end of 2020. Jonathan Pullman, he's the director of government relations, and I had Marlene pass on that handout that we got. And on that handout, you'll find information on COVID-related enactments, state budget-related enactments, school employee health benefits reform, job protection measures, pending litigation, and federal issues. Last was the keynote speaker, which was Dr. Birnbaum from Lenape District. Meg, help with this if I don't get it all correctly, since Meg has lived this.
I have.
It was on staff and student wellness. About 4 years ago, they began a better initiative with the staff for self-improvement goals. It evolved after into more years of self-improvement for the staff. After better became better you, then better together, then better connections. This was done as professional development. They had school-based committees that were formed to choose monthly events. And if you look in my notes, I'm not going to read them through, but they went from October through May, and they had different initiatives that they worked on. They had a poster in, I don't know if it was in all the schools, but poster that says ways to take a break in the Lenape district. The benefits of this was that the value was measured in infinite potential, human potential. Improving the life of the educators helped improve the life of the students. And they found that their health insurance experience rate dropped 10%, saving the district $1.8 million by getting the staff engaged in these bettering activities. The next meeting for the Burlington County School Boards is Thursday, December 3rd at 7 o'clock. Did I miss anything important, Meg?
No. It was more focused on the last 4 years than necessarily COVID specific, which I think was a little surprising, I think, to most of us in the meeting. I was expecting to be a little bit more COVID based, but it was a nice recap of some of the stuff that they've done.
Megan, are they doing anything like that now? Because like I thought it was going to be more COVID. I mean, she talked about something they did in the past.
Not at the
Yeah.
moment.
Okay.
I wish. How's that?
Yeah, just curious because I thought it was going to be something more recent.
Understood.
Gave her speech. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or comments for Vicky? Okay, Vicky, do you have HSA?
Do you have it? If not, I do have my notes.
Not with me.
Okay, let me just grab them here. They're in my stack. Okay, I'm just going to go down to the education fund updates. The kits were purchased for Mrs. Valente. There were no other requests for the Ed Foundation, and they had a few grants denied, but they will be, they're hoping to get some more. The mask fundraiser raised over $1,000 in profit. Room parents, they're working on lists. They're just right now contacting the head room parents, and then once they're able to get things going and possibly get back into the school, then they will reach out to other parents. The new business, the elementary yearbook, they're going to continue with the pre-K through 4 yearbook. The middle school will be handled by the staff. The TES or lower elementary yearbook, let's put it that way, will be done through the HSA. And there were a lot of suggestions. One of them was even to maybe do a video yearbook. They were holding a pumpkin decorating contest on October 26th through the 30th. They're going to have awards for 2 age groups, and there'll be 4 winners in each group. The winners will receive Barnes & Noble gift cards. Upper Crust Dine and Donate on the 29th, and I saw that flyer was put out. And student planners were purchased using the money from the mask fundraiser. The 5th grade team requested planners, and that money, the mask money, was used for whatever grades wanted those planners. The fundraisers, continuing with Amazon Smile. If you haven't done it, just click Tabernacle. I'm not sure, does it say the elementary school, Meg, or does it say HSA for that one?
I'm not sure.
Amazon Smile, I think it's HSA.
I think it's
Homeschool
HSA.
Association. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the box tops might say Tabernacle Elementary School. That the box tops are all online. If you shop at, if you have a ShopRite card, you can link that, and as you're paying, it goes through their computer directly to the box tops for the school. The clipped ones, the latest date that they can be turned in is November 1st. There was a LuLaRoe sales held by one of the moms who is an HSA member on the 16th, and she was going to donate 50% of the sales. Boone Supply will be starting in November. This is replacing Yankee Candles, and HSA will get 40% of the sales. Clothing Drive, that date's to be determined. Stocks Pound Cakes, they'll be selling them around the holidays. Designer Bag Bingo. They have refunded people who purchased tickets for last year's. They're going to be setting up a calendar raffle. It would cost $30 per raffle, and there would be 1 chance to win per day, and your name would still stay in the raffle. You could win every day for 30 days if you're lucky. Save Around books, they're $25. The HSA gets 50%. I don't believe they're sending them home with the kids this year. And they also talked about having a Panzerotti sale. There was a special project request from Mr. Whirl. He requested funds to purchase food for cooking. Unfortunately, usually when he does this, he takes his students out to the store and they do the shopping. But because of COVID this year, he will be doing the shopping and the kids will be cooking with him. And that was approved for $500.
Thank you. Education Foundation, did Colonel Hensky leave any notes with anybody? I know I got a text from him this morning that said he was out of the state doing his military duty. So I didn't know if you had anything. Okay, there has been nothing, no flash meetings. Mr. Dilts, anything for school wellness?
No meeting.
Township Council?
No meeting.
No meeting. Okay. Public comment on agenda items. Please state your name and address. Please, each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. No one may ask more than once. No, I'm sorry. No one may speak more than once on the same topic. Please keep your comments respectful and non-defamatory. Keep in mind that it is not always possible or appropriate for the board to directly answer questions during public comment period. And at this time, you may only speak on agenda items. Do we have any hands? Okay, everybody's shaking their heads no. Okay, last chance. Recommendations of the superintendent. Under education, we have one item. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Kevin.
Second, Megan Jones.
Any comments or questions?
Get a little background on this, just for our own edification.
Absolutely. This is a thing that is legally required for all boards and to approve every single year. We really, it comes from the state level. We just sign off and acknowledge it. We have no say in the actual contents of it, but all boards have to accept it. And then all law enforcement agencies that they are tied to sign all, they agree to it as well. And there's a document that every year that we're agreeing to this.
So we have no say. Okay,
Yeah, we're so very accommodating.
nice of us.
I have a comment as well, if I could.
Brian, go ahead. I mean, Dan, go ahead.
Dan. I recognize this is boilerplate language. I understand it's not changeable. In the context of that, Sean, I had inquired before about section 7.4.1, which relates to the live streaming video.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that items 1, 2, and 3 have been properly addressed from the admin team.
Yes, we've addressed all items as required by the MOA.
Okay, so those lists exist. They're with the right people. Those plans exist.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
Okay, cool. Thank you.
no problem.
Any other questions or comments? No? Patty, roll call?
Mrs. Corey,
Unmute, Gail.
Yes,
thank you.
yes, yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes,
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
yes,
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Thank you.
Under personnel, we have 1 through 7.
I have
Any
8.
I have 8.
I have 7.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that real quick if I could. I believe the agenda was updated, but we didn't get notice of that.
I apologize if you weren't notified. I'm sorry. That was
Yeah,
no-
the copy online at this point in time says revised, and the copy sent as part of the board packet last week has changed.
it was updated late this afternoon. I apologize if it did not get sent to you on the end.
Can you
There was
can you or
updated
someone
one.
quickly point out for the
Absolutely,
edification
Dan.
of the board what has changed?
Yes, the update would have been number 7, which is there was an additional leave of absence.
Number 7 under education, under personnel.
That is
Person-
Were there any other changes?
I want to say the other change would have been under number 5. We were given updated transcripts that reflected a higher credit status.
In the past, when we had revised agendas, we got red lines. Is it possible to do that going forward? Just so we
Yeah.
know the
I will
background.
pass that along. That's not a problem, Brian.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
So
Right.
at this point, I think we need a motion on 1 to 8. I'll make the motion just to kind of move it
Motion on
forward.
it.
I'll second Vicky.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to break out number 5 as a separate topic.
And make a motion. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second that. I'd actually like to discuss that under executive if we could.
Okay, so I'm sorry, it was Mr. Lepsis and Mr. Dilks?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for pulling number 5. until
I'm sorry,
after
clarification. What's the motion to do? Is it to pull it until after executive session? Is it to pull it to future? What's the motion actually on that?
My motion was a separate vote, but I'm happy to accommodate Mr. Dilks's request to table until after executive. So I guess I'll amend my motion to make a motion to table following executive, assuming that we don't have an issue discussing it in executive. But
We okay with that, Sean?
For you to vote it after, or to discuss.
Can
it in
we
executive?
discuss item number 5 under personnel under executive session? Such that we could come back after executive session and vote it separately.
Sure.
All right. That's what I would like to second if that is the motion from Mr. Lepsis.
that was my motion.
All right,
You
perfect.
stated it perfectly.
All right. beautiful.
Okay, so 1 through 4 and 6 through 8.
Like, we need a vote on that.
You have to
Change
vote
first.
on the, yeah. the
Okay,
pullout.
let's vote
Yeah.
on the tabled.
Yeah. Okay, so Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
And I need an amended motion to,
I'll amend my motion
Thank
to
you.
move forward. Does that make things easier?
Perfect,
1
thank
through
you.
4 and
And I'll
6
second
through
that.
8.
okay, so
Thank you,
1 through
second.
4, 6 to 8. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any comments or questions? 1 through 4 and 6 through 8. Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Under financial, we have, well, I have 1 through 17.
Yep,
Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved, Vicky.
thank you.
Second,
Second.
Kevin.
Kevin, any questions or comments?
I have a question on number 13, the school physician. My only question is why a physician from Mullica Hill so far away?
She is our existing physician. Vicky.
Yeah,
She just
she
changed.
moved practices. She changed her
You
practice.
moved- Oh, okay.
Sorry, Sean.
Oh, sorry. No, all good.
Any other comments or questions?
Can
On
you
that
give more
same one-
update on number 14? It looks good to me. I just want to know the whole background and, how the kids are benefiting from all that.
Number
The tutoring
14,
after
Ryan,
school.
that is looking at, basically, we're trying to find more ways to provide supports as we've been looking through the entire time. And that's something that we're able to look at some of the money that we're not spending on certain things, for instance, our fall sports, and look and seeing if we could use that in a way to still put it towards helping the students. In this case, in terms of their educational activities, we were able to break it down and figure out what we could do. And it looks like we're going to be able to focus. We want to put the key focus in particular on our math and our ELA help and providing that after school. So
Is
there'll
that going to
be,
be driven by teacher requests for the teachers to do it, or is it just kind of an open house to come in as needed, or?
in terms of who's going to come,
Yeah, what students would,
they
participate?
can request, tell students that's recommended to go. We have to obviously post this position still at that point in time and working with the candidates in terms of the entire validity of the program that we've been trying to figure out. Again, listening to the feedback of the parents of trying to get more time for them to work with teachers and trying to also put key focus on these core areas of math and ELA.
And would be the kind of thing you sign up for in advance, or just?
For the
it's there waiting
student,
for?
they could sign up in advance. It could be recommended by the teacher as well.
Okay, so if nobody takes advantage of it, there's no one sitting there waiting for an empty classroom, so to speak.
Ideally, if we have to shift it from, how our initial plan is, as we're going, again, this is a new thing we're trying to offer, trying to listen to the desire to have more help available for our students.
I applaud the idea.
Thank you.
Okay, any other
Number-
questions or comments?
I would like to make a motion to vote number 16 separately.
Okay, here we go. Motion is pull out number 16. Can we have a second?
Second, Gail.
Okay, so now we're back.
Okay, we need a roll call to pull number 16.
Okay. Sorry. hold
Doesn't
on.
matter with that. We have breast Charles. Go ahead.
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to amend, Mrs. Shoemaker, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, I
1,
will amend my motion for 1 through 15 and
And
17.
17. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, can I get a roll call on that? 1 through 15 and 17?
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
So now we're going to go back and do number
So
16.
Back to number 16.
Okay. So we'll need a motion and a second first.
That's it. Another motion and another second?
So
Okay,
moved, Brian.
Brian. Need a second.
I'll second.
Judy.
Judy can have it.
Judy.
Okay, thank you.
Number 16, first and second. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, the comment I have about this is I haven't been provided with the paperwork to accompany these drills.
It was updated, Dan. Again, I apologize that information did not go out to you, but the information in the drills is in the board packet. That was part of the update this afternoon based on your request. So I apologize if that was not
Can you
sent
tell
out.
me specifically where it's located? I'll see if I can see it real
Absolutely.
quick.
You go under financial, it is under miscellaneous, and it says the bus evac drills and has the whole description of what we can provide for the drills, which is the dates, bus numbers, times, length.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yep, that's there.
If you would, give me just a minute. If anybody else wants to take a look as well. Tell me again, financially, you said?
Yeah, click on financial.
Yep.
And then under miscellaneous, which is number 9.
Thank you.
No problem.
Give me just a minute, please. Don't these typically have signature associated with them on who did the observations?
That's on the individual sheet.
I don't see that here.
No, it's on the individual sheets that were done by bus. They were signed off by the bus drivers.
Dan, we've had it both ways, I believe, in the past. There
Yeah,
was, I
the
think,
one-
previously a
most-
full, and there was also individual, like the overall, and then they held on to it. So we've had it both ways previously.
Yeah, the one I'm most familiar with, it looks a lot like what I'm looking at here, except it has kind of a signature of authority saying, I observed these drills happening, they were done correctly, etc. So I don't see any sort of,
So the person that did observe all of them is Debbie Herndon, our transportation director.
Sure, yep.
And she is the person I sat down today and did the schedule with.
okay,
So I can add that to the spreadsheet, but it'll simply be her name. for
okay.
all. Yeah.
So all of these drills were done. I guess my issue is if you have someone observing them, they're all done at the same time
Mhm,
and they all conclude at the same time and the same individual observed all of them.
mhm.
Is that what you're saying?
You know what? I'm thinking it's Debbie and Sean. Maybe it was John.
Big John?
Yeah, it might have been Debbie on the one side and Big John on the other. I'm not sure, but
They run
Debbie,
the drills accordingly based on the
Yeah, on the bill. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. I'll have to check, but Debbie is the final approver of all of them since she's the director.
Okay. Okay, and these were posted today?
Yes.
Okay.
And Patty, just to refer back to policy, it's supposed to include the name of the principal or assigned persons who supervise the drill.
Okay.
That's what I was.
There's a history. We got burned once on this. That's why it's,
I'm sorry.
there's a history. We got burned on this one pretty bad once.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
that's why I'm pushing this the way I am. So I apologize.
That's okay. I didn't know about that.
Anyone who's not familiar with the history.
No,
And it-
sorry.
No,
It needs the Patty. It also needs the name of the school. So
well, that's
I
at
guess
the top.
are they both?
Tabernacle
Yeah,
School District.
yeah, but it says the name of the school. It actually doesn't even say the district. So I don't know if you need to put it separately, like the elementary versus the middle school or not, depending on where they were.
Oh,
done.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So in reading this, we're saying that all the buses showed up at exactly 7:45.
Well, no, they're saying the drills were initiated at exactly 7:45.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The drills were initiated all at the same time. Yes.
Which is what I'm wrestling with in my head, how one individual can observe all of them simultaneously.
So because we have the buses lining up and not emptying them right away, Dan, all the buses would have been, once they all arrived, then they would have been given the signal to begin the drill all at once. That's what occurred.
Is the top section of this sheet one school and the other section of the sheet the other school?
It's actually the cohorts. We had to do it. All of our drills this year have to be done twice.
Okay. So where it says drill 1, is that one school and drill 2 is the other school?
That would be the different arrival times.
Yeah. It would be the early arrival and then the later arrival.
Okay, so in the top section, that represents both schools, and in the bottom section, that represents both schools.
Yes, it's just the times.
Okay, so understanding that, there's no possible way that one individual could have observed both sets of drills.
Right. That's why I'm thinking it was Debbie and John. I'll have to check with her, to be honest. I don't know.
One on both sides of the building.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when the second arrival happened, they would move over to ES.
Okay, I think we need clarity on this before we vote it. So I suppose procedurally, I would make a motion that we table this pending a further update on what each section of the table represents and who observed each of the drills.
I don't know if we can also request, I know last year, my big issue with the bus drills was that they were only doing them off the front of the bus. They weren't doing them off the back of the bus. I know they do 2 drills each year. I was told last year that they would do the front of the bus, the first drill, the second drill, they would do the back of the bus, or vice versa, whichever they chose. Is there any way we can have that put on here?
Of the side of egress.
Mhm.
This was front of the bus.
Everybody evacuated the front of the bus?
Yeah,
So
and
they
that was my decision because of COVID, having to have everybody move past each other. So it was easier to have them get off the bus in the front. Our hope is by the time we do the spring drill, that we'll be able to do it the other way.
And just so, again, I can't really go into much more than this, but there have been modifications that the DOE and the Office of Emergency Planning have put out for all drills and are continuing to do. So that would be aligned with something that they would probably be recommending on this one, even though their focus has been on more of the school-based drills, not the bus drills. That seems to be the type of modification that would be in one of our drill of the month clubs, as they call them.
Okay, so we're gonna table number 16 for now? Yes? Somebody say yes?
I
Somebody say no?
made a
I have a
motion.
motion, but I don't have a second. I need
I
a
have a
second.
second. I guess we'd be knuckleheads to vote on it tonight.
I'm sorry, Mr. Alexis.
What'd you
what
say,
is-
Brian?
I'll second that. I don't want to vote on something and,
Okay, so
We're
we're
not-
tabling number
not sure it's
16.
perfect yet.
The motion is to table number 16.
Okay. I think
Do we have enough
I think
motions and seconds to cover all this?
I don't know. After a
There'll be a few
while.
in the bank.
I know.
Sorry, Patty.
Somebody just want to
That's
throw out a
okay.
couple more just to make sure we're covered or what?
Throw
I
a third in
think,
there if we need it.
Sean, I think we can do an all in favor for this.
Honestly, with all the motions and seconds, I'm not sure if we already didn't. So-
Yeah, I know. Can I ask for an all in favor of this motion?
Okay,
Aye.
all in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Because
All opposed?
it has
I'll
no
abstain.
money attached to it, so we can do that. Okay. 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 I think we're good-ish.
Okay, so we're,
Thank you.
I don't even remember what topic we're on anymore. Okay, we're done with financial. Done with financial. We're on to policy. Second reading for the gifted and talented students.
So
So
moved.
moved. Brian.
Thank you.
Kevin.
And Kevin, any questions or comments? Roll call?
Just one. I think
Oh.
it should say second and final reading, Sean.
Okay.
Second, final. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Roll call?
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Okey dokies.
Okay, our enrollment is at 661. Under harassment, intimidation, and bullying report. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Vicky.
Thank you.
Second, Gail.
Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have anything for miscellaneous?
I do have one thing, and it kind of piggybacks on a comment earlier about we're hoping to be able to do the back of the bus drills in the spring. Hopefully, by the time we get to spring, we're back to I'll use the word old normal, or at least more old normal. I would love it if we can start to encourage the district to start planning for the end of year events and plan as far out in advance as we possibly can, with the hope that we can do them in the ordinary and customary one, and have some backup plans as need be, or some plans that would work both indoor or outdoor, social distance or not social distance as permitted. But I know last year we did a good job at the graduation doing it virtually. It was a scramble at the end. I know the 8th graders got, I'll use the word cheated at a lot of the experiences that typically 8th graders get. So it's only October now. We have plenty of time to start thinking and planning on how we can maximize their experience and what plans we can start working on now, because the traditional dinner dance may not be something we want to pursue, but maybe there's some alternative that we could have that, regardless of the social distancing guidelines, we may be able to pull off for them and make it as great of an experience as we possibly can under all the circumstances. So I want to throw that out there as food for thought and see where we can take it. I know some other districts are already starting to fundraise towards it. Not knowing what they're fundraising for, I get it, but it'd be good if we had multiple tracks that we can pursue to make the years as great as possible under this circumstances.
I can tell you that our 8th grade advisors are already beginning having those conversations to look into the springtime to figure out what we can do and to make those plans happen. So again, certainly very far off to have, as you said, a clear understanding as to what the spring will look like, but we are having those conversations now to figure out what events, even using the confines that we currently are in, let's say things get continued that way, what could we still do? What could we pull off and how can we make it as memorable as possible for our students?
If there's any policies we need to address or amend in the meantime, we have plenty of time to do it if we start early, but just want to try to support them the best we can, the teachers, the staff, the students, and the whole families.
Okay, anybody else for miscellaneous?
I'd like to bring back up into the conversation that there's probably a lot of things that we need to consider developing a plan for. I brought up at the last meeting that we should consider a plan that we are ready for to bring the kids back to school, because knowing our luck, the governor's going to tell us on a Friday night or Friday afternoon that the kids could go back at some stage, and be that next month, next year, whatever. We have a plan for fire drills. We have a plan for all these other things. You need plans in place. You need your teams to be ready to manage this, because the logistics of that is going to be a nightmare.
So Judy, we're talking everything from what, from bus runs to class assignments, or is it like a
Bus
whole new
runs,
year?
moving children from location to location into schools, moving lunches, moving staff, all of those pieces. We had the summer to plan for now. We're not going to get as lucky with as much time. I am certain of it.
Hope
Because
you're
our
right.
luck has been, we've gotten ourselves in trouble often being the last one to the table ready to go.
I can tell you the admin team has already started having conversations, looking ahead in terms of the many different avenues that the future may hold or may not hold. I think that we were looking at everything, having conversations with other districts to get better understanding as to how other people with more people on their team, so to speak, have looked at things. And again, we're asking the county and every chance we get to meet with them in terms of if they can give us some sort of a timeline as to when they think more answers might be given to us as well. But that being said, we are having, I said, frequent conversations as to what adjustments we can make even with our existing plan to make it improved and things like that. But certainly we have thought it again in terms of what will happen if restrictions are lifted, what changes we have to make and how to make it as successful as possible for our students, our staff, and our families.
Well, I appreciate hearing that, because my worst fear at this point is that in a month or two, they're going to say, oh, you can go from 6 feet to 3 feet. And that's going to change everything we're doing dramatically. So I'm glad to hear the admin team is thinking about this. And you know, I worked for a man who worked in Medford, and they have a plan for a tsunami. We're in Burlington County. I never have considered us having a tsunami, but if you have a plan, you know what to do and you know how to react. So I'm glad to hear they're able to take care of that.
Okay, anything else for miscellaneous? Anything for unfinished business?
I have one item if I could.
Dan?
Yeah, I just, for the benefit of the rest of the board members, Sean had written to update me. He's initiated some meetings there to review Olson Academic Leaders and Junior National Honor Society. So they've had a meeting. There's nothing formal out of that yet, but I look forward to hearing progress on that at some point regarding an update.
Good. Anybody else for unfinished business? Any new business? None? Okay, seeing none. Our second public comment, please state your name and address. Each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. No one will speak more than once on the same topic. Please keep your comments respectful and non-defamatory. Keep in mind that it is not always possible or appropriate for the board to directly answer questions during public comment periods. And at this time, you may speak on educational matters not of a personal nature. Do we have any hands? Heather, I saw you trying to raise your hand earlier. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that we sent out a Google form to all of the 8th grade parents about 8th grade events, and we are definitely trying to figure out plans for that moving forward.
Excellent.
So far, we've had 17 parents respond, so get your responses in if you have any ideas.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Vining also has a hand up.
Okay, Mrs. Vining?
Hello, good evening, everybody. Mrs. Vining, Erica Vining, 12 Jessica Court.
Just wanted to kind of revisit some of the information I was concerned with with the last meeting. I did send in emails without much response, so I will be bringing it back up because there are new concerns. So I want to thank the board for hearing us out as parents. You know, we're just looking for the best advocacy and protection for our children. But before I do move forward, I just want to revisit the curriculum approval process here at Tabernacle, because Colonel Henske did try to explain that there is a formal process. I do believe that you have something in place, and that for my concerns that I brought up on the last call for the newly mandated state standards for health and education, that Mr. Bannon did explain that they hadn't purchased anything, which is I do understand that. The problem is much of this curriculum is free and available. And quite honestly, as of a couple of weeks ago, there was other curriculum that I know hasn't been approved that was taught to children that isn't even passed into law yet about the education of the George Floyd murder and the incident with BLM movement. Okay, I do have a belief that unapproved curriculum has not been implemented into our system for very sensitive subjects such as this and sex education. So my concern is still very, very specific to all these subjects, that though we haven't purchased anything yet and haven't rolled it out and the mandates may not be coming till next year, things are being taught in our schools that are very sensitive subjects that the parents weren't aware of. And that some bills aren't even, there is a state bill 454 that is in the education committee. They did first reading, is in the education committee now, hasn't passed yet, that does speak to that schools are going to be required to be taught about the George Floyd killing and the BLM movement. But this was absolutely presented to our children as an educational matter 2 weeks ago. So forgive me, I do want to demand that there's clarity based on the state mandates on the sex education, because I trust that you didn't buy anything, but quite honestly, you don't need, no one needs to. This information is free. We just want as parents to have the ability to opt our children and be very, very clear on the subjects that our children are being taught when it comes to very sensitive matters, okay? And I'm not asking, I know you don't have anything that you can do against the state mandates. I know, I understand that. I know how that works. The problem is that there's things that are being taught to our children that we need clarification on. And all we're asking for as parents is to have visibility on those topics, to have that information presented to us when those things are going to be taught, and the ability to be able to make it very easy for parents to be able to opt them out. I do understand you're dealing with an acute problem with COVID. You've done a fantastic job of getting our students back, the ones that have done hybrid, but these are situations that I am seriously concerned about going forward. I'm just asking for the district to not to go against the state mandates for health education, or even the new law that's going to come down, but probably not by next year, on the BLM movement and systemic racism in America. My question is to the board and superintendent, what can we do to protect the residents to know that we have a choice in what our children are being taught? Because quite frankly, my husband is a police officer. If my child was going to be taught about social injustice, I am the one who will be having that conversation with them. I don't want it to be, taught through a scholastic reading material that was highly slanted in a different direction than what my family stands for. So my question is that what could we do to make this process more transparent for the patients to be informed on both the sex education and any other sensitive matters that will be taught to our children, and to make this a comfortable situation for the parents to come and speak to the board about something that really goes against many of our very tenets of our moral and quite frankly, religious code as it relates to sex education. So I appreciate you hearing me out. I'd really look forward to this being an agenda piece sometime very soon. I know there are many other parents that are concerned, and I pray that they comment and contact you when they do have concerns. And I do appreciate you hearing me out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonnie, let me address your concerns about the new sex education standards, which, first of all, the health and physical education standards that the state's put out, as you mentioned, the standards themselves are not required to be implemented by schools right now. So the school is not using the new standards you're referencing until our curriculum is updated to reflect that. From contacting the DOE as well for some further clarification because of your request to opt out and so on. Once a curriculum is written, a curriculum has to address all standards, as you did mention.
Right.
Obviously, it depends on how a district does write it. However, that being said, once a curriculum is written, if there are certain elements in the curriculum, once we post it, if you say, okay, you know what, this X, Y, and Z is things that you find offensive or objectionable, or however you may want to phrase it to your children. There are individual things you'll be able then to opt out once that is fully written. You can't opt out of an entire health and physical education curriculum. I'm sure you can understand that. But the recommendation was once it is finalized, there are specific elements in it that a parent says when, you know, this lesson, that's really the recommendation from them and how to handle something like that.
I appreciate that. So I think I just want to further explain my concern in that I know that these mandates aren't going into practice yet, but
Sure.
neither were the George Floyd teachings or the BLM movement information that was also taught to our children. So I'm not trying to create an issue. I'm just saying that there are instances where there is curriculum that isn't approved yet that is being taught. And with such a sensitive subject as both of those, I have serious concerns. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I appreciate it. I have, as you know, and the board knows, I have, written, but I'm glad that you went through that process so that other parents can hear what they have the right to do. I still do ask that the board continues to be completely clear, maybe create a draft letter or some type of information and letting them know, because without doing the research, most parents have no idea. And I think some of them might be upset with the new changes going forward. And quite frankly, some of this isn't approved that what has been taught as of recently. So I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and Sean, on a very similar note, I mean, I rue the day that we're going to be sitting in these meetings talking about 8th graders learning about anal sex and 1st graders learning about masturbation. And for my reading of the standards and some of the materials out there, I'm hoping that we have a proactive approach to allow people to opt out as soon as possible, because it's probably not the dinner conversation I want to be having while we're talking about the the dinner dance and the years that my kids are in those grades. And I have to imagine in this community, it's probably not the majority view to be having those kinds of conversations or teachings or that kind of agenda-driven education focused on our children. Because
Sean, I'd like to make a comment, Sean. Sean, you and I had talked about some of this. Could you explain to the parents, which we had talked about, that when you're implementing the standards, mandates come down, that the district, you determine how you are going to implement that? Maybe if you explain that a little bit more to the parents, that might help.
Absolutely. So state is responsible for telling us, here's the standards that your students have to teach. You have to teach the standards. However, the depth in which you address every single standard obviously is embedded into how you write your curriculum. So there are certain standards I know that are more hot button issues than others. And when the curriculum is written to be updated to the new standards, we can have some leeway when we're writing our own curriculum to make sure all standards are being met, but the level in which they're being met and how topics are being addressed is somehow or somewhat rather reliant on the district as you're writing it as well. So I think hopefully you'll understand that when it's being constructed, when we write the curriculum, and ultimately when the curriculum is being implemented in the classroom as well, I think some of your concerns will end up being addressed during that process as well.
Is there a parent representation within looking at that curriculum?
We haven't even gotten to the point of writing curriculum. Curriculum is usually written from, we usually hire our teachers to write our curriculum based on the standards. There's not usually, there are times that there could be a review committee, but for the most part, it's written from the teachers and then we pass it on to the board for approval as well.
Sean, could you also address if a teacher brings something controversial into the classroom?
Absolutely. There are controversial topics. There are ways that controversial topics are meant to be taught, and there are ways that they are not. And I think going back to your point, and we had conversations about this too, as it always is in a sensitive manner. It's not supposed to be, as we've talked about, Gail, as you intimated, the idea that politics are not entering the classroom, that we can teach things as though they are current events and things like that. But the idea is that the classrooms themselves are not the place to indoctrinate or express one's own feelings towards any sort of political slant, right or left.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I wanted to thank Ms. Feining for her tenacity in this conversation. Clearly, it's a very passionate topic. You did mention that you feel that some unapproved curriculum was being delivered. If you have evidence of that, if you haven't already done so, I would ask you bring it to the admin team's attention. And then following on from that, Sean, there's been a couple of requests, not just Ms. Feining, but others around how do I opt my kids out for things I don't want them exposed to. I don't know if that is captured on our district website as a kind of an easy process to have that happen, or a stepwise process to have that happen. But I would make a recommendation that we make sure it is reflected on the website. And if it's appropriate and becomes pressing enough, maybe a more formal letter when some of these curriculums are rolled out can be provided.
Noted.
Any other public comment? Anybody see any hands?
Mrs. Reilly has her hand up.
Mrs. Reilly?
Hello, Toby Reilly, 14 Cuts Drive. I just want to comment on the implementation of the hybrid plan that's happened since the beginning of the school year, and say that from an educator stance, because I'm on the education side, I know how completely all-consuming it has been for the teachers, how the administrators are probably working night and day. You thought you worked hard before in September. This year was like a whole new ball game. And from the parent end, I'm just amazed at what's been happening. My kids love when they get to go to school. When they're home, they do their work. They love hopping on with their teachers. Honestly, my kids just like going to school. They like seeing their teachers and their friends. But they really haven't missed a beat. I think that that's a testament to whatever plan you guys put in place and how well you've been able to adapt. So from a community standpoint, I'm just really happy with the way things have been going. And I know that you're constantly like looking at how you can improve and change, but the teachers have been very responsive. Anytime I've reached out, I've gotten a phone call or an email back. My kids are getting responses. And so I just want to thank you, because this is a time where everything is so hard and so many people have so many issues, but you're kind of making our lives a little bit easier on that front. So thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Anybody else?
So Ms. Druden had her hand up.
Hi,
Hi,
everybody.
Yes, thank you. I'm 14 Sonway, Larissa Druding. I do want to thank you guys, as well as what Toby said. As an educator myself, very thankful that we didn't start off full hybrid. And everything Toby said, the teachers have been wonderful, admin has been wonderful, so I am thankful for that. I have, where I teach, we've been teaching 5 full days with live streaming. I certainly don't want to compare my school to Tabernacle. There's, everybody's doing their own thing. I was just curious if we have a plan to further allow kids to come in face to face. I'm very well aware of all the concerns, lunch, for example. I would even be thrilled with 5 half days. I know my school, we're doing okay. We have similar size. Again, we're doing 5 full days with everybody in virtual, if parents aren't comfortable. I was just curious if we have a next step, or, what's to come.
We're always looking at that, Mr. Truding. We have brought some students back that we can based on specialized needs for more time. One of the big impediments to being able to do that for a wide stream is spacing. You know, in our size of our classrooms, we don't have the ability to bring all the students back for 5 days a week without violating the social distancing requirements the DOH has put on us. I know I've talked to some other schools, asked them how they've done it. Some schools have said to me that, you know, based on some older construction, their actual classrooms are bigger. So therefore, you know, where most of our classrooms are capped at 12, some other schools are 15, 16 because their rooms are just larger than ours. So based on where we are right now, it really, like I said, if we can keep on tweaking things to figure out how to do it, we will. But it's kind of tough with the social distancing to make sure to do that. And like you said, I think that the next step, if we were able to, would be more of, like you mentioned, of a half day as opposed to the full day. But even still, it's very tough when it comes to spacing. Now, going back to, I know Mrs. Saylor mentioned earlier, if they made some adjustments to, 3-foot spacing versus 5-foot spacing, then we could look at again to see if our classes would enable us to have the 5 days a week, half days. That would probably be the next step if we were able to. But again, like I said, so much of it comes down to what the DOE and DOH says that we're allowed to do based on social distancing and the recommendations. So I think the first and foremost is to put student and staff health first at all times in everything we're doing. And I know we sent the letter home about our first positive we've had in our district on Saturday. And, I am very thankful that that was our first, and it took us until mid-October to get there. So I think, everything we want to keep on going back to the protocols and all the conversations we had with our committees over the summer of always putting the health and well-being of our students, of our staff first. So I think all of our decisions have to be from that. And then as we can, we will continue to make tweaks to, as ideally, I'd love to have more students back in the building every day too.
No, thank you.
Very welcome.
I think you guys have done a great job with starting. And like you said, besides that one case, it's been going very well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other hands? I'm scrolling through and I don't see anything. Nothing? All right, at this time, I'm going to go to executive session. Whereas statute allows for a public body to go into closed session during a public meeting, and whereas the Board of Education of the Tabernacle Township School District has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempt from the public, and whereas the regular meeting of the Board of Education will reconvene at the conclusion of the closed session at approximately, anybody want to take a stab at that time?
9:30.
What?
Just checking. 8:15.
Let's go
8:30.
8:20.
8:20.
8:20. Ooh, you guys are optimistic. Okay, 8:20. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Tabernacle Township School District will go into closed session for the following reasons as outlined by statute. Any matter involving the employment, appointment, termination of employment, terms and conditions of employment, evaluation of the performance, promotion, or disciplining of any specific prospective public officer or employee or or current public officer or employee employed or appointed by the public body, unless all individual employees or appointees whose rights could be adversely affected request in writing that such matters be discussed at a public meeting. Holy cow. Therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby declares that its discussion of the aforementioned subjects may be made public at the time when the board attorney advises the Board of Education that the disclosure of the discussion will not detrimentally affect any rights, interest, or duty of the school district or any other entity with respect to said decision. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education, for the aforementioned reasons, hereby declares that the public is excluded from the portion of the meeting during which the above discussion shall take place, and hereby directs the board secretary to take appropriate action to effectuate the terms of this resolution. I have a motion.
So moved, Vicky.
Second, Kevin.
All in favor?
Can I make one comment first? Any chance we could check a second box there for any matter involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property with public funds, the send or banking of blah, blah, blah? Second one down.
Second one down. Wait, how many pages am I on? Any matter involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property with public funds, the settling of bank rates or investments of public funds where it could adversely affect the public interest if discussion of such matters was disclosed.
In the brackets, I would put school number 1.
School number 1. Okay. Um, All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? All abstain. All right, executive. Everybody back? I think we're all here. All right, meeting back in session. We ready? We need to, motion to vote on personnel number 5.
So moved. Vicky?
Thank you.
Second, Megan.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Roll call, please, Patty?
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Lepsis,
No.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
and Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Thank you.
How do we do the last one?
Motion to approve the sidebar agreement with the TEA.
So moved.
So moved. Brian?
That was Dr. McCloy, Mr. Lepsis.
Yep.
And-
Yep.
Okay.
All in favor, quick comments or questions? All right, roll call.
Mrs. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Dilks,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Abstain.
Mr. Lepsis,
Yes.
Dr. McCloy,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Saylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Lepsis?
I'd like to make a motion
Wait.
to adjourn.
There's no miscellaneous?
We already did miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous.
It's on there twice.
There's a
Oh.
motion.
Brian,
Second.
second, Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstain.
Good
Have
night.
a good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night. Stay safe.